coffee and hot.
Damn good coffee and hot. I thought we were going to change that music. Change the intro. That's a boring ass intro. I like my nighttime. That one. Anyway, good morning. It is Tuesday, right? Right? It's Tuesday, right? Yes, it is. Tuesday, July 26th, 2022. Just cruising on through this year like boom, bang, zip, bangity, bip, bada boing, bink. And it's gone. Anyway, it feels like the heat wave kind of broken a little bit here. I don't want to jinx it, but the humidity is certainly tapered off a bit. Beautiful day out. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. And I'm feeling like Mr. Rogers. Good morning, folks. And today, the fabulous Dean O'Hara with his not beret, Fangol hat, cap, something, flat cap, flat hat, flat cap, cappity cap, cap, We'll be co-hosting, and Mike O'Keefe, comedian, writer, and third thing from, I guess, like Milwaukee, Detroit. I don't know where he's from. Well, somewhere out there, in those places that New Yorkers and Californians don't really care that much about. Anyway, that's what we got lined up for you today. It should be a good show. Dean has been with us before, been there as a guest and as a guest co-host. Good guy. Probably will have something to contribute as far as witty, you know, comments and things like that. Good morning, everybody who was joining us. See a lot of big numbers happening on the Roku channel. I gotta find out. I don't believe we're. Well, I don't want to even say. I don't know what the situation is over there. Got some big things happening later today. I will be a guest on the Last Rites program with Call Man. That's not a big thing. I'm betting that's going to start late. I have done probably about 20 appearances on other people's podcasts, and it's an unusual thing for me. It feels weird. It's like they turn the tables on me and want to ask questions of me, and I don't feel like I'm all that interesting, to be honest with you. If I thought I was all that interesting, I wouldn't have guests here every morning. um, But so that's we'll be at 1 o'clock today. I'll be with Last Rites with Carl, and he will be trying to find out um, about my past, which I basically talk about every day here. But that's not the big thing that I'm excited about. I have some business stuff going on later today that I'm really excited. Phone call that should finalize up something, and then I'll be on a high. And then I don't have a show tonight, which means I'm not off. There's work I can do, but I don't have the pressure of preparing for a guest. Now, funny, yesterday, Kat was saying, and I've heard this so many times, that I appear to be well prepared for my guests, and just not the case. It's just not. I mean, it could be the case that I appear that way, but I'm not that way. And so I had a guest on last night who really has the potential to expose that. Well, it's kind of, I'm calling myself a phony here. My guest last night was Bill Torbert, and he is an academic who's written many books. And the book we were talking about last night was Numbskull in the Theater of Inquiry. And he has got this concept called action inquiry, and it's a leadership transformation, self-help, relationship, business management, all this kind of stuff, concept, steeped in a lot of academic language. I don't know what the fuck it was all about. But I think I put on a textbook display of phoniness. Because I think if at the end of the program, Dr. Torbert, I think he was prepared to give me an A in the course. And I still feel like I'm confused by it. Um, a lot of, as I mentioned, a lot of deep language, not necessarily like huge words that uh, people don't use every day. Just a concept, and it's almost like poetry. Um, what's his name? Henry. I can't think of his name. I can't. I'm having a senior moment. Henry Rollins says of poets that poets are people who intentionally muddy their waters to make them appear deep. I think sometimes academia does that. I'm certain it's financial analysts do that all the time. They just kind of make things feel like murkier than they really are, so that you'll be confused by it, and then you'll think, "Wow, I'm not smart enough for this." Not that that's what Dr. Torbert's intention was. Great program though, and I found it really inspiring, stimulating, confusing, all of that. Um, but I stopped doing the business edition, even though that was the one that was paying the bills. I stopped doing that about a year ago now, I think, if memory serves me correctly. Just completely said, you know what, I can't do the business edition anymore. Even though it was, again, as I said, the one that was paying the bills most. Um, just uninspiring to me because I'm not in business anymore. And I don't plan on being, I'm running my own business. Yeah. It's not my thing. I don't care about business, which is why I'm a lousy businessman or a lousy administrator. I'm a child. I want to play. I want to do creative things all the time. And when it comes down to doing the work stuff, it feels like it feels like the end of the day when mom is calling in, time, playtime's over. Come in, yeah, we got all dinner and shower and bedtime. That's what it feels like whenever I have to do work. Like, no, I want to stay out and play. So taking those principles that he had written his book for business and politicians and political change and world leaders, and trying to um, apply them to personal life and in personal situations, and they can be applied to that. But I would suggest you check out the program, if for no other reason than to gauge what a phony fuck I am. I mean, I watched it back last night because I was putting it together and publishing it, and as it played back, I was like, you know what? It does seem like I know what the fuck I'm talking about. It does seem that way. And again, at the end of the program, Dr. Torbert, I believe, would have graded me with an A on my paper, um, but just wasn't there. So that's it. As I mentioned, Dean O'Hara, the fabulous Fango flat cap Dean O'Hara, boogie uh, DJ, reggae DJ man, DJ Reggae Man, will be co-hosting. He'll be here at around 9:30, and then Mike O'Keefe, really funny comic, who will be hosting the best night ever at the Lincoln Lodge in Milwaukee tonight. He'll be with us at 10 a.m. Mike has got a interesting past. He's a punk rocker. I like punk rock. I love punk rock. I love the attitude of punk rock. Real punk rock, not the '90s grunge, fake punk rock. which is, I wonder, he's younger. That's probably what he's more tuned into than, say, the Ramones and Sex Pistols and that kind of stuff. Um, he was a radio host and a national comic. He's been touring for a long time, and an interesting guy, very interesting guy. So we'll look forward to talking to him at 10 a.m. today. So that's that. Do have a new sponsor want to talk about. It's called the Daily High Club. Yes, the Daily High Club. I am high daily. Uh, dailyhighclub.com. We use the promo code MindDog. What's the Daily High Club? Well, Daily High Club is a place where you can get bongs and dabs and all that kind of paraphernalia, stuff you would have got in trouble for. The kind of stuff that sent Tommy Chong to prison. But now it's legal everywhere with over 1 million consumption accessories. And I think they got to just call it weed smoking accessories. Consumption was TB, right? Um, with over 1 million weed smoking accessories sold over 15,000 subscribers and over 15,000 subscribers. Dr. Torbert would have just failed me on my reading skills right there. Daily High Club is one of the leading online retailers of glass water pipes, vaporizers, and other in-demand weed smoking accessories. They got to lose that consumption word, man. Daily High Club provides a marketplace with a wide variety of high quality products and subscription boxes. Daily High Club has a active social media presence and numerous influencer and celebrity endorsements, including deals with Tommy Chong and Chanel West Coast. I don't know who Chanel West Coast is, but they have other collaborators that they deal with, and uh, lots of cool stuff there. I mean, they got bongs and all sorts of smoking gear and vape machines and different kind of papers and all that kind of stuff. They have a gift box, monthly gift box, stoner subscription box. Get the number one stoner subscription box, and you use the promo code MindDog when you're ordering today. Go to dailyhighclub.com, dailyhighclub.com. I'm feeling a little stoned already just reading that ad. How about you? Uh, Carl says punk was 18 months in the 70s. Is that all it was? I don't think so. Just because maybe that's the production cycle of it. No, punk lasted for, well, the influence of punk is still with us today. Rockin' 45s are a punk rock band. I maintain that. Actually had an argument with the drummer who subbed with us, telling him you have to realize we're a punk rock band. He was a jazz guy subbing with us. You know, to play all jazz grip. Yeah, who plays like that? Anyway, um, the influence of punk, especially the Ramones. For me, the Ramones are the standard by which I measure punk and the influence of them and how people apply that um, to any kind of music and any kind of genre. Now, as I say, the Rockin' 45s are my band. I'm talking about my band like I got nothing better to do than plug myself here. That's not necessarily the intent here, just talking a little bit about punk rock, I swear. But we are essentially, I hate even to say it, an oldies band. Uh, oldies in the traditional sense of that word, oldies band. We play a lot of really fuddy duddy old time music that your parents probably listen to, but we play it with that punk rock attitude. We will play Frank Sinatra like the Ramones would play Frank Sinatra. I know the Sex Pistols covered My Way, but no, we would do it like the Ramones do it, and we do My Way like the Ramones did it, or like like the Ramones would do it. We do several Sinatra songs, but we're not like a Sinatra band. Believe me, we do all sorts of weird old music like that. Lou Monte, do you know who Lou Monte was? I mean, that kind of stuff. Play it with a punk rock feel. We do actually some Ramones songs, but almost everything we do, we play Neil Diamond like it's fucking the Ramones. Punk is alive. Punk is still alive. It might have had and I don't know if 18 months might be a slight exaggeration, but it was, if you talk about the movement, especially in the UK where it was born, uh, that probably close, maybe 2 years, not much longer than 18 months, but it was a really influential 18 months of music. Speaking of music and UK and all that kind of stuff, Mick Jagger's 79th birthday today. Happy birthday, Mick. Kevin could get him for me. Kevin Mazer could get him for me as a guest, but he won't because he's a one-way street. He could. He could have him here tomorrow morning. I could have Mick Jagger here tomorrow morning if Kevin would just pull one little string for me, but he won't. These are the kind of friends I have. Because I think and he's probably right about this. He's got it in the back of his mind that if he does it for me once, that I'll be bugging him forever to get all his fucking celebrity friends on the show. Probably some truth to that. Probably will. So, it is what it is. Anyway, what else is trending today? What is going on in the world? You know what? I know people. I caused a little bit of a Twitter shitstorm last night. I do this a lot. Um, Bobert, Burbert, the little the pint-sized escort that fucked Ted Cruz and had to get an abortion. That one, the Jesus head, gun head from Colorado. She was doing on some dopey podcast. I know maybe she was on with Charlie Kirk. I don't know. She was on with somebody. Put it that way. She was talking to somebody and was talking about how she's sick of the separation of church and state. Now, this is something she said before. She was saying that in the Bible it says that the government shall rest on God's shoulders. I read the Bible. I didn't pay attention to that, and wasn't like it's one of those things you were forced to read. And basically, I'm a fan of nonfiction, and so the Bible really. I know people love that book. Just never did anything for me. Anyway, I don't know it that well. It says in the Bible, government should rest on God's shoulders, but I know somebody who does know the Bible really well, John Fugelsang. And so I tagged him in it, and I said, John, you know the Bible really well. Does it say this? And he clarified that Isaiah in the First Testament was talking, he made a statement that somehow suggests that, but not in the way that she intended it. But holy shit, did people, because John has a huge following, and because I tagged him in it, and she has a huge following and hater following, both in the same breath. So it's caused pretty much of a Twitter shitstorm, and getting notifications every 5 seconds now. People wanting to comment on it, and people getting angry, people getting biblical, all this kind of stuff. And I'm just sitting back here like, wow, man. It's just like amazing how you can trigger people with political stuff and religious stuff, and you mix them both together. Really cool. Really cool. If you're looking to start trouble, looking to be an instigator, a troublemaker, just come up with something political and religious in the same sentence. You got a surefire recipe for setting Twitter on fire, and that's what I did. I'll go check out the chat room here and see what's going on here. Dean, what are you doing over there? Come on in here. If you're here, you're here. You don't have to wait till 9:30 to come in. Good morning, Tom. Craig. Craig was going out to see Billy the Kid. It was the origins or the said origins of Billy the Kid. Some of that I've been dragged back into the Old West lore. I've always been a fan of that, the Billy the Kid stuff, big time. I go back down into a YouTube rabbit hole of this kind of stuff every once in a while, and I'm in that phase again. Carl is in the chat room too. Good morning, Carl. We'll see you at probably around 4 p.m., something like when your show actually starts. I know you have it listed for 1 p.m. today, but I'm betting it will start late. I'm guessing 4 p.m., 5 p.m., 7 p.m., something like that. But it's listed for 1 p.m. So that anytime Carl does a show, you got to show up and wait and wait. He's going to start late. He'll start late. He always starts late. Let's see. Craig is saying there was a waitress in Silver City that says her mom knows you. Yeah. Yeah, right. You know what? You're scaring me because there's a half of a chance, in the slightest chance in the universe that might be true. uh, I know I'm definitely worried about any possibility of any remnants from my past existing out in the fucking middle of the Southwest somewhere, coming back to haunt me. Lou Bogle, who was out in Estancia, New Mexico, he got to me last night and said, "You got to come out to New Mexico," and he's right. I do have to get out to New Mexico because he ain't coming back here again. And I got to see Lou before one of us dies. We're the only two members of the Brotherhood still alive. I think. Well, Danny Rothman is still is teaching in L.A. and in Chicago, but he's kind of incognito and avoiding both of us because I think there's some bad shit he doesn't want. He's hiding from the past as well. We're all, everybody who was out there during the late 70s, 1980. We're all hiding from that part of our life. Anyway, Dean's probably getting his Fangol hat dry cleaned, and he'll be with us momentarily. Let's see what else is going on in the world. Let me see. Interesting. Mike O'Keefe, who's going to be our guest. I'm wondering if he even knows he still has a website. He has a WordPress website, but it looks like he stopped updating it in 2018. Ooh, that's a loud pop. Why is Dean's pop so loud? The fabulous aforementioned. Oh no, that's Carl. It's not Dean. Carl's got a loud pop. You can come in. You don't have to sit in the back. No, I'm gonna just let's see. What can we do? We can't do anything with Carl. We can't do anything to like make him sound funny or look. Well, maybe we can. There he is.
I already look funny. Look at the state of me. No shower. I'm a zombie. I'm going to get in the pool and then shower in a minute.
So it's still summertime there, even though it's wintertime there?
It's winter, but it's still warm enough for me.
So you're probably the only one going in the pool, right? Because like if I was,
yeah, it's pretty cold for everyone else, but yeah, I'm only here for a few more days. I'm leaving here today, and I'll be in the UK next Monday.
I was thinking about you this morning because if I were you, you obviously handle this much better than me. But if I were you, I would be stressed to the max knowing I have to travel. I don't travel well, and just the thought of it would fucking put me in the hospital.
It was stressful organizing everything yesterday, but I'm so used to it. I'm quick. Everything's perfect. I just need to make sure I can get to places. It'll be stressful early Friday because I'm going to another city super early, and then from there I'll be going to London and on Sunday. But yeah.
How many bags you got with you? How big is your life there?
I take a carry-on, and I've got a massive backpack that carries quite a lot in there, so I have to lug that around. But I strap them both to me and just walk around like a little hobo.
And then you carry them both on the plane, or you gotta?
No, I'll check one. I'll check the big one and take the Just take the carry-on.
Just all these thoughts would keep me up at night. I would be like,
I've done it. I've done it so much. I'm super fast with it. It's just no worries. I'm a smooth operator when it comes to traveling. Believe it or not, the chaos happens when I get there, or just around everything else.
No, it's not a one-way, a direct flight from Brazil to London, is it? You probably stop.
There are, but actually, I am taking the direct flight, and I'm paying through the fucking ass for it. But I'm taking not from the city I'm going to. It'll actually be a little internal one, and then a little wait at an airport, and then it'll be direct from there. Normally, I'd take another connection, but you know what? I just thought I had limited options, and I needed to come back, and I thought I'll come back earlier than I was planning. So the extra money I'm spending, actually, I would have spent on places and food and all that stuff anyway. So. And
you still have a house, an apartment there? You didn't give that up because it's been months. It's been like.
I gave up my apartment in March, and I was in temporary digs for a month or 3 weeks, and then I came here. So I'll do the same again. I'll stay in a temporary place for a month or so, and then track down an apartment.
Wow,
that's the plan. So I left it. I got out of there. Dean is backstage, so I don't want to take up his time. I just wanted to pop in.
No, don't worry. He's fine. We could talk to Dean. Look, he's still messing with his camera, and look, he's got him.
This is the guy that claims to like comedy and lives in New York, but didn't know who Jim Norton was, even though he looks a bit like him. So.
He didn't know who Jim Norton was?
No one knew who he was.
Don't mess with Dean. Look, he's mad. He's got a frown on his
mad
morning.
face. That's where the comes from.
Dean will fuck you up.
Oh, don't I know it? Don't I know it? That's why I've got to be clear. When I'm in New York, I'll be super careful. I'll be looking out down every dark alley.
Yeah, put me on the list for your show, Carl. Let me into your show.
There's no show right now, so if I do something, I'll let you know when I'm out there. But I'll be walking the mean streets of New York, looking for hidden frozen cocktails that cats left around the city as well, like a little Mario game.
Yeah. It's easy to find weed if you're looking. You can buy it at any smoke shop, basically.
I'll be looking for help for edibles and stuff. So
I know all that up in the Bronx. A little bit far though.
I got a connection. Big T down in, but he's not. He's down on the Rockaways, I believe. Big T is my guy. He's been on the program, and he's the guy who gave me that edible that sent me into a week coma.
Space. He gave you the edible that took you back to school after saying that they didn't work.
Right. So I got to go see him. The problem is I'm so far away from everything, but I definitely owe him a visit because. He doesn't like to. I guess he doesn't like me saying that he can supply stuff on the air, but he can. He because I asked him where do I get this? Big T. So yeah, better than a dispensary, and the dispensary prices are fucking ridiculous. I mean,
I don't go to. I have a medical card, but I get it from like a smoke shop illegally because it's a lot cheaper. I can't pay $9 for fucking.
I don't trust the dispensary stuff because my dispensary had edibles on sale. You buy 2, you get 1 free. Thing, but 10 milligram things.
Shit! I had to take 200 at least. 300 right now.
How many?
300.
Really? No.
Yeah, I got a huge tolerance for edibles. It's crazy.
Dean's 3 rungs above you on the Space Cadet ladder.
Yeah, no, I did 125. I was like I was like retarded for a week.
It's tolerant, so isn't it? You hadn't had any real ones. It's like you don't drink and you drink half a bottle of whiskey, right? It's.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I guess. What did you say, Dean? My tolerance?
I have a huge tolerance. It's not a good thing, but it's just what it is.
No, it's an expensive thing. You don't want a tolerance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You don't want a tolerance.
Yeah. Dean, with the hats. Tell me about the hats.
The hats. I mean, I like the hats. They're nice.
Yeah. How many of them you got?
It's from like hip hop and like punk and reggae subculture. They all have these Kango hats. And
how many of you got? 3, 4, 5. How many do you have? 3, 4, 5, 7. A dozen?
I got 3 summer and like 2 winter. Yeah.
What's the
You could be
difference between?
selling newspapers in a Dick Van Dyke film as well in the 50s.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I could be a newspaper boy.
Not
Newspaper
really.
man.
It's not really that different from the hat I wear. I wear mine backwards, but
Oh yeah, yeah. I saw that.
yeah, not that much different.
That's because you're urban and cool, Doug. You know?
Yeah, this, right?
Oh yeah, it's the same thing. I got the kangaroo on there and everything. Yeah,
Well, you have a Kangle too, so why you already have them?
I thought it was a beret.
No, it's
That's
not
the
a.
Samuel L. Jackson in the late 90s hat.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Early
No,
90s.
I wear it just to dull the shine because this shine
Yeah, I
gets
have
to
this
me.
too. See, I can't have the sun on my head the whole time. You know.
Yeah. So anyway, this guy Mike O'Keefe, did you do any homework on him? Did you check him out at all? Did you?
I did. I'm interested. Like he was in the punk band because when I first started DJing, I was doing punk mostly, and I still have a lot of punk records, and I do punk sets sometimes. A huge influence on me. I like traveled the world, meeting different punk people, and they would show me around, like all around the world. That's how I did it.
Wow.
I read about him. It sounds interesting.
We think of punk as a pretty much a British thing, but the Ramones is the only real punk American.
No,
punk
I mean
band
no, it goes
that
much
I
further.
know.
Okay.
Huh? So who give me some American punk bands other than the Ramones?
You have like Tussle of Doom, you have Circle Jerks, you have Black Flag, of course.
Oh yeah, I know Black Flag a little bit. Circle Jerks were a punk band. I thought they were like a ska band. No,
No, it's punk.
huh.
Total punk. I saw them recently. I saw them last month. They were good.
They're still around?
Yeah. I saw them with 7 Seconds, which is another punk band from the 80s.
Wow.
Hardcore.
Wow.
There were a lot of people there.
Yeah. But now you were out in Portland. You were a kid then. Were you even born? You were born in the 70s, no? Or born in the 80s?
I was born in 1978, yeah.
So, yeah, how do you know about all the... Because punk, like Carl said, it was like a very short-lived phenomenon. Were your parents into it? I mean, how did you get into it?
No, I mean, no, it's just like I would listen to like community. It was during the time in the early 90s. There was that grunge stuff, but in Portland there was other kinds of music, other more punk kind of different, weirder music. And I listened to that in community music, community radio, and I would go to shows and hear about singles. It was like that. That was in the 90s. And then this punk is still underground. The scene's still very much alive.
So then you tracked back, you heard that stuff, and then you tracked back to like 70s stuff.
I love the 70s stuff. I spin that stuff anytime I have the chance.
Nice. Yeah, my oldest brother was into punk when I was a kid. So I was born, when I was 4 or 5, I was listening to him play his music. And that was after it had all been and gone. The movement, I guess I'd say, but he was into all that stuff. So that's how I picked it up. I've been a fan of punk, and then even some of the post-punk stuff since.
Oh yeah, some of it's good. Yeah.
What do you think ruined it?
It's not ruined.
Well, from what in the UK, from what you listen to, documentaries around about the time of the Sex Pistols and stuff. Basically, it was about individuality. So it was about making your own clothes and making your own music. Maybe you weren't even that good a musician, but it's just, it was just punk was about individuality. And from what I've seen, one of the things that ruined it was people basically copying. So when everyone's got a mohawk now and everyone's got the same leather jacket with the same pit, it becomes something else. So that's what a lot of the punk guys from the 70s say, that by the time it got to about 79, late 78, maybe 2 years. I think 76 to 78 was the big period, I think, in the UK. And by that time, it was stopped being about individuality. Everyone looked the same. And then you get all the copycat bands, and it kind of lost something, I think. But
what killed it here in the US with Neil
It's not
Young.
bad.
Neil Young killed it. When Neil Young came out with the
Rust Never Sleeps.
yeah, Rust Never Sleeps and all that stuff, and people were calling that punk, and real punk fans were like, "That's not punk," and all that.
It's good though. It's good.
I,
It's a great album.
Yeah, you know, at the time I was definitely into it. I could listen to it again now. I probably haven't listened to it since then. But that's what ruined, because it became commercial then. It became part of, it was played on the radio constantly here. It wasn't like a fringe thing. It wasn't out there. It became normalized. It became part of the American culture, and it was born out of something that was not part of the establishment culture. It was supposed to be not radio friendly. And
Yeah,
now
like a lot of
But then I think it went into
Sorry,
the
go on.
underground again.
what?
It went underground. It never stopped. You had street punk right after that. That happened in the early '80s. Bands like The Business, Exploited, Angelic Upstarts, Cockney Rejects, and you had the anarcho punk in the '80s was very political and about collectivism. They all lived in one house. Crash, you know about all that stuff.
Yeah, yeah, not to the extent that you do. And I think
it changed, right? It did become something different, like you said, like the political stuff. It changed what it was. But like a lot of music cycles in the UK, the punk was a reflection of 70s society. It was a lot of strikes. You still had in the 70s. You still had a lot of post-war stuff from the 40s that had never been repaired. So you had piles of rubble on the streets. Everyone was going on strike. So the rubbish guys, the garbage collectors, they were on strike. So there was just piles of rubbish. Everyone was sort of in debt. It wasn't a good time in the 70s. So the punk was born from that. These kids that were born into this shithole. Just not liking anything about society. It got really dark in the 70s, and the music came from that. I think it came from like, well, everything's shit. So
as somebody who lived through it, I can tell you 1976 through 1979 was some of the darkest years of my life. And I know it was bleak in the UK. New York was really bleak at that time. New York had the garbage strike. We had, garbage strike where garbage was piling up on the sides of the roads.
Sort of taxi driver era New York, right?
Yeah.
Just gloomy, dark, dangerous.
Pretty dark time. And I think the music was a reflection of that. But it strikes me, Dean, maybe you should be you should do a music blog, a music historian blog. You seem to know a lot.
I did about a music traveling blog. I did that years ago. I have like 20 posts, but no one reads blogs anymore. This pissed.
Well, we'll probably revisit some of this conversation when Mike comes on, because he was a former. I think he played in a punk rock band. Doesn't seem old. Yeah, doesn't seem old enough to have played in a rock.
There's still punk rock bands that never died. That's what I'm telling you. It's still around.
Well, I'm in a punk rock band, if you want to say that. But I mean the original, with the real stuff, the stuff that
The Damned are still playing.
Yeah, I don't know. That's like there are still classic rock bands playing, but they're not really real classic rock anymore. It's now become, I don't know, soft, commercialized. Aerosmith is still out making music. I don't know when they last time did their album, but they're a classic rock band, still together for the most part, but they're not really. They're not
Rolling Stones, the Strolling Bones.
When was the last time Rolling Stones did an album? Like 1980?
No, they were putting. I don't know. They did the greatest hits, didn't they? And they added 2 songs to that or something. 1 or 2 new songs, 40 licks. I don't know, to be honest. They've been on a final tour for about 25 years.
Yeah, the Who too.
And I do kind of want to go and see.
I don't follow them that hard. I love what they did in the 60s and 70s, but I don't really follow.
I don't follow. I just know they're still selling those 40 licks t-shirts.
What do you think about? Now, I don't even know if this is true, but what I read on Twitter, Bruce Springsteen was selling tickets for $5,000. The tickets were starting at $5,000.
I didn't read
You know
anything about
Christine
it. But
Levine's bit about Springsteen?
What?
Christine Levine has the best bit about Springsteen. It's amazing. You have to listen to her album. It starts with it. I don't want to spoil it, but her bit about Springsteen is like he's like stands for stuff what he's not about. He stands
Yeah.
for the working class man, but he's
Yeah.
a millionaire.
Billionaire. I think he's
You gotta
probably a
listen to
billionaire.
Levine's bit. It's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? Who can afford $5,000? So if you're gonna take your wife to a Springsteen concert, you got to shell out 10 grand just for the tickets.
it's another
parking.
Ticketmaster thing, isn't it? I can see from there what a headline here. Ticketmaster say most tickets are $200. 11% are subject to dynamic pricing, and that's where you see stuff like those comedy tickets going up for $500. It's Ticketmaster, and they keep a section. And they do this weird algorithm, I guess, like Uber, but it's just way more offensive, where you can end up paying $500 to go and see Hannah Gatsby, or $5,000 to see Springsteen.
Wow!
I think if you sign with Ticketmaster, they get that right to do some of that stuff on those tickets. It's not all the tickets; most are still reasonable. Well, I guess 200 is reasonable for even a man of the people. A big name, you're going to pay that. But yeah, $5,000. Who's paying that anyway? It's not going to. In general,
some people just have too much money. Some people just have so much money, they don't know what to do with it. It's not our problem.
Hopefully, there's not too many people putting their kids into debt. There probably are a few people that are putting their savings in to go and see him, to be honest, because it's just the way that people are. But hopefully the prawn sandwich brigade would say in football, the idiots, corporate tickets.
People, if there are people out there who have so much money that they don't know what to do with, write to me at info@minddogtv.com.
I've got a PayPal.
Yeah, hire me. Hire me at DJ, please.
What do you got? You got anything coming up, Dean? DJ Wise?
Not at the moment. I'm just waiting for the sign up for the one place I usually do. It hasn't come through. At the moment, I don't, but I'll get something.
Carl's looking at his watch. You know what that means?
I'm gonna jump off, guys.
All right, jump off.
Watching. Last Strikes, 1 p.m. Eastern, with the baldest and the finest podcast who happens to be bald and lives in Shore.
Probably like 10 after 1, right? 10 after 1 or so.
It's going to be on time. There's a $50 bet on the table if you want to take it up. And so Last Rights is on then. Dean, have a good show. Good luck with your music and stuff. I'll speak to you soon. And cool. I'm going to go jump in the pool and sort out this zombie.
Thanks for stopping by.
No worries, man.
Thank you.
All right. Oh, that's me. Phone is ringing. Should I pick it up? No.
Sure. No? Okay.
Hello? I'm not here. You hung up on me, you bastard. They were going to probably be a warranty guy anyway, or selling me something. We're just calling it.
I'm getting those spam calls, and they're like, "Oh, you owe Social Security all this money." It's a total lie.
You ever get the IRS guys who, they fake IRS guys to put with the Indian accents, and they're going to come and send the sheriff to you if you don't send them? I get those.
They did that with Social Security. I don't pay taxes because I'm on Social Security SSDI, so I don't pay taxes at all.
Good for you. You're a non-taxpayer.
I don't get very much money.
Well, let me tell you something. You pay taxes. You just you don't pay income tax, but you pay
I pay taxes. Yeah.
Yeah, you pay tax on everything you buy. You take tax.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't. That's a whole other fucking ball of wax there. That whole, I don't believe in. I think income tax was a fucking ripoff. We never had income tax until 1913. Not part of. They can tax the money you spend, but to tax the money you make and the money you spend seems like a double dip to me. I don't.
Well, I think there needs to be money for social services and stuff. Like I benefit from that with my housing. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to have housing.
Yeah.
But most of it goes to military and police and stuff. The taxes, and stuff we really don't want to deal with.
Right. Yeah. Well, there's nothing I really want to deal with. Now, you have had, obviously, with a master's degree in philosophy, you've had some dealings with academia. Last night, my show was a guy who was a doctor, a PhD doctorate, but
Okay.
lots and lots of degrees, and seems to be the conversation was just so, I don't know, artificially complicated. Do you find academia to be that way, or is it just like me? Every time I try to talk to somebody who's, a college professor or something, they seem to kind of talk in concepts and ideas that are convoluted rather than just plain language. This is what, like action inquiry or numbskull in the theater of inquiry, how to transform your conversations and how to make your conversations more transformative by adopting a attitude of inquiry. Like, what the fuck? Can't you just put it out in straight language for me? Do you feel academia kind of muddies their waters, like Henry Rollins said?
I mean, yeah, they do sometimes, not always, but yeah, I find that rather boring. I think I don't like that whole thing. Like, take for example, like the disability rights movement. There's a big academic thing, but then you don't really hear a lot about it in like the real world. And I think that's a big problem because we need to talk to not just the academics, we need to talk to everybody.
Right.
You know what I mean? So everybody can understand, everyone can benefit.
Right, right. So, especially when you're dealing with a subject like philosophy, you can get really,
We
uh,
can, yeah.
yeah, high level, like, talking in the clouds above the common man sometimes. Yes?
Yeah, it can get like that.
Yeah. So, how did you deal with that? Because for 6 years or whatever your education had to have been for that, I would be ready to slit my wrist. Like, come on, man, can't we have a real conversation with real people here ever?
Well,
But
I tried to do that. I mean, I always, when I wrote papers and stuff, I always did something that was passionate and I felt deeply about. I always had like a process within myself when I did that, when I did something I really cared about. So that was, but it's really hard. It's a lot of reading,
yeah,
and a lot of thinking.
right. Now, how do you maybe because I think of philosophy in very high standards as far as what you will talk about or think about society in general. How do you balance that with your fanship of the current comedians, comedy in the real world, and philosophy? Are they incongruent?
No, I mean, I think it's like, I think like the way most comedians tell a lot about their lives, and they're trying to like figure it out and make it turn like tragedy into laughter, like humor. I think Aristotle said, I don't know if it's Aristotle, but someone said humor is tragedy plus time
Yeah,
because it's a lot of, I think it's like Doug and stuff, Doug Stanhope and Andy, they're really questioning like the way things are, and they're like kind of having different ideas too. So it's, you know what I mean? There are like kind of like question of society and then making fun of it, but there's
yeah,
kind of array of like ideas and hope, like a catharsis. Catharsis is like in Aristotle. Catharsis is when you like are able to like transform pain into something else and a way of coping into humor. And I think
right.
that's very important.
Wow. So now you are a guy, and maybe if I'm exposing too much about it on the program, you could just stop me. But you're a guy who's kind of prone to depression and stuff. Does the philosophy stuff help you get through that? Because you're just talking about, catharsis and all this stuff, and turning, pain into something else. Um, does that help you or not? Do you lean on that to deal with depression?
I mean, it does help me because I think like the most simple thing about philosophy is questioning and being open to different perspectives of reality, right?
Yeah.
being that things can be different. So it's like that you can do things transformative, but can change things and change the way you feel too, change the way you are. So different ways of thinking can lead to different ways of acting and living. So when I'm my best, I can do that. But I'm really depressed. It's hard to do that.
Right. Now, I got to ask this because our guest is going to be here soon, or I would wait on this because I want to continue that. But Tom has something he wants to know. Please ask Dean what despist refers to. Being as smart as he is, I'm guessing it means something deeper than just a piss references, piss reference, if at all. Or I do dig those hats, Dean. What is despist?
Well, despist is like well, in punk rock, so we're gonna return to punk rock. There's like in the '90s, there were all these bands like Discharge, Disrupt, this. So there's that, the punk element, and pissed being angry. Then the disability too, disability, disability, pissed, anger, fighting back, and also and fighting back basically, and for disability rights and like.
Now you're only known by that on Twitter, right? It's not like
No,
people.
and Instagram,
Oh yeah.
and yeah, when I do my shows, that's what I call myself. I didn't name myself. Someone gave it to me.
Yeah. You know what? Same with Mind Dog, and people ask me about Mind Dog all the time, and it's like it was an evolution of things, but I didn't come up with it. It was, you know.
Yeah, this girl like said, "Yeah, you should call yourself this person." I'm like, "Yeah, that's good."
Yeah. I mean, I would never nickname myself anything. Nickname. I did have several false
I have
personas.
some nicknames,
One
but I
is
didn't
on
give them myself.
that
I have
help
some too.
that wanted poster in the back is Hank Porter, my alter ego, I guess. Hank Porter,
Oh, okay.
Hank Porter, the Lonesome Cowboy. Anyway, yeah. No, going back to the depression stuff. Do you take antidepressants or any kind of chemical things to kind of, other than like what we know about marijuana and all that stuff? Any like prescription
I
medicine
do.
or?
I do. I take like a Abilify and a low dose for depression. It's antipsychotic, but I take a low dose, just depression. And then like I take gabapentin for pain and trazodone to sleep. Yeah, so I take some things. I was resistant for a long time towards that. Like I didn't want to do it. I didn't believe in it. I thought it was like altering my mind. It was like trying to mess with my head. But now I think it's better just to be to take it to not have to deal with the deep depression as much.
Yeah, because it came back up again this week with the 20th anniversary of Tom Cruise going batshit on Matt Lauer about psychiatry and the
Oh yeah, I
prescription
hate
drug.
that guy.
You hate
I
him?
hate Tom Cruise.
I hate him too. I think he's a guy I would love to give a fucking beating to. I would love to smack him around just to. He needs to be taken down a notch with his fucking attitude.
Yeah, and the whole Scientology bullshit. It's so bad.
But a lot of people were back on the argument about psychiatry and prescription drugs to treat depression and all that kind of stuff. And it's I have mixed feelings about it. I do think it's overprescribed, but I think if it's
No, but
necessary,
if someone needs it, so they're feeling okay, so they're not suicidal, then there's no shame. They should take it if it helps. I think it helps me. I was resistant for a long time. I don't want to overtake at all.
not surprisingly, Kevin has some opinions about the drug stuff. Gabapentin sucks.
I love gabapentin. It calms my nerves. It makes my pain go away.
Uh, yeah, he said it affects the whole central nervous system. What does that mean? Everything is your whole central nervous system. I was on Neurotin, which same thing, almost crashed my car on it. Well, I don't think you're supposed to drive on it, are you? I don't know. I don't know
I
about
don't
any of this
drive.
stuff.
I don't drive. Never have.
I think most prescription medicine it will have a label on it that says "Do not operate heavy machinery." Yeah, but I could be.
It does make you a little drowsy, but I'm okay with that.
Have you tried microdosing?
Yeah, I mean, I do mushrooms. Oh no, but I haven't really tried it. When I do mushrooms, I'm like, want to do the whole thing, not
That's
micro.
I hear you, man. I don't think I'm the same way. Like microdosing doesn't exist for me. Microdosing is the start. That's the start of an evening.
No, but I want to get high. I don't want to not get high.
Yeah.
If I have my.
Budsy's here. We got everybody chill out. Budsy's here. I met Tom Cruise, Tom Travolta, Ali Kirsty, and Parker Stevenson one night at that cult. What, you were in Scientology, Budsy? We need to know more about this. Kat says she prefers a microdose. For me, microdose is a gateway to a major
Yeah,
dose,
it's like, oh yeah,
a macro
it's the
dose.
beginning of the night, right? Yeah.
Yeah. It's like I'm that way with anything. I can't I can't have. That's like Lay's potato chips. Nobody could just eat just one. I don't even know if they had that out on the West Coast, but here, Lay's potato chips had a. Nobody could eat just one with their commercial, basically, and
Oh yeah.
that's what I feel about like microdosing with drinks, food, any kind of food. That's just a start. Once you start, you got to see it through.
Been cutting back on certain things.
Wow, Budsy said he was in Scientology for 6 years.
Oh my God.
I don't
That's
think
crazy.
excommunicated from it. Now this is interesting because I thought they didn't let people go. They never
Track
throw
you
people.
down, right? I heard that.
Right.
They'll probably game suck. They'll game suck you.
I had a girlfriend in college, and she wasn't into Scientology then. She tracked me down, or I tracked her down sometimes in the MySpace years. Found her on there, and then she was she had been escaped from Scientology. Her husband was still in it, and she was on the lam. She was like trying to stay in hiding, but she was telling me stories about that. And then one day I got like a panicked email from her saying, delete all my emails. They know you exist. They're coming after you. Like Scientology is like the Men in Black or something, or a deep state government agency, or now I'm on a list and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah, scary.
But yeah, no, they have people living in fear when they leave the church, and are afraid to kind of be out there. So I don't know.
Yeah, I met the daughter of an actress who was into Scientology, was a waitress. I don't know how I found that out, but I did. Yeah. And so it's weird. It's really weird.
You think because Tom Cruise is definitely full in on this stuff. I mean, he praises that.
His videos are amazing. Where he's like, "Yeah, you gotta save people because you're the only one who can." With the Mission Impossible, you remember that, right? The Tom Cruise movie.
Yeah. And they treat the McTavish, is that the guy's name? Matt, whatever.
I don't know.
I can't. Yeah, they do Miscavige or something. David Miscavige, the guy who runs.
Oh, David Miscavige, yeah.
Yeah, they treat him like Jim Jones, or even bigger than Jim Jones. I mean, as a cult leader, he's like their god.
Oh he's very abusive. Very.
Anybody that puts a human being as their god is. I mean, all religions are a little bit fucking scary anyway. But when you claim a person is God, you're scaring me a little bit there. Anyway, yeah, we're waiting on a guest. He should be here any minute now. It's coming up on 10 o'clock. He did get in touch with me this morning and said, yeah, 10 o'clock, right? Because he was ready to go like 8:30.
8:30. That's when you used to do it, right?
Yeah. And you know what? That extra half hour does make a little bit of a difference as far as my, getting ready for 8:30 was a pain in the ass. What is Buddy saying? Got indicted for the death. Oh, we don't want to go there.
Oh my God, we're getting dark here. Oh no.
Yeah,
I'm not doing it.
Yeah. So our guest has arrived, Michael Keefe. is a guy who is a comedian. Well, he's three things. He's a comedian, writer, and a third thing. We're not sure what the third thing is, but it probably has something to do with punk rock music, radio talk show host. Maybe he's four things, but on his old website that he never uses anymore, it says comedian, writer, third thing. It should probably say third thing and fourth thing. Anyway, he's here now. Ladies and gentlemen, please open your ears and open your minds and help us welcome Mike O'Keefe to Coffee with the Dog. Mike, welcome.
Hey, what's up? Thanks for having me. How's it going, fellas?
It's going. It's going. We don't ask how it's going. We just ask, is it going? Yes, it's going. Start off by saying common friend Jeff Dwoskin sends his regards.
Hey.
You know Jeff. Have you worked with him?
Oh, of course. I've known Jeff since I started. I've known Jeff near on 13 years at this point. That's great.
Wow. So are you from Detroit or are you from Milwaukee?
I grew up in right outside Detroit, and then I started comedy in Detroit, and then I moved to Chicago, and I'm still in Chicago.
Oh, but tonight you're hosting a show in Milwaukee. No, the Lincoln Lodge in Milwaukee. Is that correct?
It's in Chicago on Milwaukee Avenue. Very confusing.
That is very confusing, especially to a guy like me who doesn't read well. So that's called the best night ever, and you're hosting it.
Yes.
Why is it the best night ever?
Well, it's an ironic name because it's on Tuesday, and there's no way Tuesday could be the best night.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, that's my show that I've been hosting for, goddamn, probably about. Can I cuss on this?
Yeah.
Gosh,
it's encouraged.
Jinkies. It's been about 4 or 5 years since I took over Best Night, and every Tuesday in Chicago over at the Lodge. Yeah, and it's great. David Cross was on the show last week, and
wow.
we've had Kinane come in, and it's a blast. It's the best.
So now you say you took it over. Was it a violent takeover? Did you have to like an insurrection? Did you have to go with troops?
It was oh boy, it was rough. I came in there. It was a clandestine operation. I was a bit of a splinter cell for a while, and then as soon as I heard the call from on high, I went in there, guns blazing, and took it over. And it was rough, but I had to do it. That's just.
So we were talking a little bit about punk rock earlier on. Now, somewhere you have an old website that you don't use anymore, I guess, because you haven't updated since 2018. It looks like, but on there it mentions a punk rock band. When was that part of your life? Is it still punk music? Still part of your life?
What band was it?
We weren't that big. We were called Black Flag. We weren't huge.
Black Flag.
Teen, I think that was a joke. You got to keep up.
So when I'm still a punk rock guy through and through. But in high school I was in a couple hardcore bands. One called Sawchuck that I think is still doing stuff in the Detroit area. And it was the best. It was a blast. I'm still very much that music still.
What did you play? Guitar?
No, I was the lead singer. Cannot. Man, I was as far as like the music, I was a liability in all of the bands.
I think everybody in a punk rock. I'm still a bit of a punker, even though I'm an old man, and I still play in a band that is. We play a lot of really hokey old music, but we try to put a punk attitude to everything. But I think everybody who came from that era is a liability to music itself.
100%.
Yeah.
No, I'm still in the punk too. Like I DJ punk, and I still do that. Yeah, I'm still very much involved in the punk scene.
Really? I thought you were just a reggae guy.
No, I like both.
Oh, you can't be both. You have to pick one. You have to pick one of the other.
Both in the 70s, that's how it was. They're together.
Yeah.
Reggae and punk are two sides of the same coin. Yeah.
Are they?
Oh my God. Yeah. All those old, especially in England, all those old punk bands loved reggae. So like the Clash loved reggae, and it's very much like they're
That's interesting. You know what? Because I have a lot of filmmakers on. They always talk, and several of them had told me that horror and comedy are really the same genre. They're kind of two sides of the same coin. And that was an eye opener to me too. I guess maybe I've led kind of a sheltered life. I don't pay attention these
You
days.
cut out for a second.
All right, I cut out.
Is it me?
It's you.
Yeah, I think
It's
so.
you.
It's
Go
me,
back
okay.
to just another pill. Go back to get one more pill out, and we'll be fine.
Yeah.
I didn't even introduce you, Dean O'Hara, Mike O'Keefe. You guys are both O's.
Hi.
In the Irish tradition of O apostrophe capital next part of your name. That's an interesting. Where does that come from? Do you guys know about that?
Ireland. Come from Ireland.
Yeah. I know that, but with
I think it's just like
of is that what? Because when we think of clock, it's of the clock. Is that so? Mike is of Keefe, of Keefe.
I think so. That's probably what it is.
That makes sense.
A very educated guess. I think.
It's so I'm guessing Keefe would be a place in Ireland. That's what I would guess. Harrah's not, right? Harrah is a place in Ireland. Anyway, comedy. Now, David Cross, big guy. Do you have now? Do they come to town and look for the best night ever and find you, or are you doing a lot like I am? I like having to kind of constantly find people to put on.
Yeah. So our venue is really great about hooking us up with people. Cross was in town shooting something, and somehow he reached out to the Lincoln Lodge, and then the lodge was just like, Tuesday's a good night to come in, set it all up. So it's a lot of that. And then, Chicago's been a town that's produced a lot of great talent, and it's a lot of just connections where bigger comics who've come through here or started here and still know somebody, they know me, and it's Chicago's the biggest cow town in the country where everyone knows somebody else. It's a giant high school, so it just kind of happens,
Right. Did you have something to ask, Dean? I saw you put a hand up there. Did you?
No, there was a fly. Sorry.
Oh man!
I was going to say,
and I was just like,
you don't have to raise your hand. We're not in school, but
no,
it's fine.
All the air.
Yeah, I know. We're not in a student conference.
I love you, Dean. You are good.
Now, oh my God, that was amazing.
My buddy Paul Lorenz, I call him my buddy. I met him twice or three times, but he restarted the Green Room show. He used to have the Green Room on Showtime, and basically all these comedians he would put together in the Green Room. I'm thinking these best nights ever. You probably have some really cool Green Room experiences with that because you're getting so many comedians on in one night. Yeah, you got to have some good stuff with that.
Yeah. It's great. That's one of the reasons why I keep doing it.
Yeah.
It's just a great reason to hang out with your buddies, honestly. And at the end of the day, that's why it's definitely not why I started comedy, but it's why I keep doing comedy. It's like these relationships I have with all these different kinds of people I would probably have never met had I never started. Is why I keep doing it and why I still love it, for sure.
I appreciate that, because that's why I started getting back into interviewing comedians, because I genuinely love hanging out with comedians. And the times that I've had in green rooms or in small groups with a bunch of comedians, there's some of, especially the diner experiences are to me some of the best times of my life, and like the times I don't want to end. I don't want to go home. I don't want the that kind of stuff to end.
Yeah.
But the question I have, because now that I've done hundreds and hundreds of comedian interviews with people on all levels, from bottom to the top, I noticed a lot of the same kind of clickiness, the same kind of shallowness, the same kind of backstabbing kind of stuff that I see in the music business. Is it hard to keep that under control, like when you have a best night ever, or something like that, when you have different personalities and might not really like each other, putting up a little bit of phoniness, a little bit of backstabbing somewhere in there? Is that an issue at all?
No, definitely.
No, I mean,
Everyone's
I know
great.
it's a real thing, but I mean,
Everyone's
does it
lovely.
does it
Everyone wants.
does it manifest itself in an obvious way? Is I guess the better way. Like, you ever have to break up a brawl in a green?
No, of course not. I think the biggest difference between comedians and musicians when it comes to stuff like that is that comedians will not confront each other about anything.
Wow.
Yeah, especially in the Midwest. New York's probably a little bit different. Just, I don't know. That's just how people are different in different places. But I've never had to break up a fight or anything like that. It's everyone's just trying to do their thing. And in Chicago, we're lucky enough that it's big enough that there's like opportunities, but it's small enough that everyone kind of realizes that.
Is that you, Dean?
What?
That that cow sound. There's a cow or something in the background mooing.
I don't hear it.
Hold on a second. Yeah, it's you, Dean, because I muted you, and the cow sound went. Yeah, no, it's something on your.
It sounded like your phone or something, Dean.
Your cow is running
On my
loose.
phone.
Oh yeah.
No
I'm
worries,
sorry.
man.
Yeah, we interrupted a stream of thought to go chase down your stray cow.
Totally fine.
I'm gonna put you on mute for a second until we.
Okay, I have to take this call. Sorry.
All right, go ahead. Take the call. Let's put Dean in the background here. Remove. Ooh. Wait. No. Oh my goodness, I'm all over the map here. No, I don't want to do that. Okay, so no, I have seen. I have seen. Not necessarily fisticuffs type of fight, but I have seen some pretty really deep-seated arguments, especially when it comes to doing material that steps on my material a little bit. You know what I mean? That whole idea where similar bits and all that kind of stuff. So I have, but that's New York. I think you're right. I think in New York you would see that in a grandmother convention, or
Yeah.
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 So with that, you're still doing, other than the hosting, you're going out and doing shows as well, yes?
Oh my God, yeah. I this weekend I'm in Rockford, Illinois, and
the Pig Mines. At the Pig Mines Brewing Company. I love the name, Pig Mines.
Yeah, that's a fun little show out there, and there's a dude named Jared Corey booked some really fun stuff out in Rockford. So yeah, there, and then the big one is August 19th at the Lodge. I'm running my hour to film. So that'll be really excited about that. But yeah, I still, I'm still.
So
I'm
wait,
there, I'm doing it.
You're doing an hour. You're doing what they call a special, but it's not special anymore because everybody has one.
Has it,
So you're doing an unspecial. But you're doing one night, because generally the idea is, or maybe you're doing the hour twice in one night. Generally, the idea is do the same show a couple of nights and tape it, and so you have stuff to edit with. Are you doing that? Are you doing it more than once, or you plan on getting it right the first time?
I'm gonna try and get it right the first time. What I like, this is completely contrary to what everyone will tell you to do. I like comedy albums and comedy specials that are all obviously one show. I
Right.
think that's the best recreation of what comedy is, because
I
sometimes
agree.
it doesn't go perfectly, you know.
I agree.
But if you look at albums like that I loved when I was starting out, it doesn't go right the whole time. Like Pompous Clown by Jimmy Pardo is a great record, and there's like parts where he loses the audience and he gets them back, and it's like this whole journey you go on with him. And then Freak Work by Paul F. Tompkins is another album where it's all obviously one night and stuff doesn't go the way that he wanted it to, and you kind of go on this journey with him throughout the show, and that's kind of what I wanted to try and do.
I think in today's world, that's so much more compelling, because we live in a time where everything is really clean and sanitized and like really edited to the point where it feels stale. It doesn't feel like being in a, so something like that where where there's some moments where you, oh my gosh, this has gone off the rails, or it's not working out, or the poor guy is suffering here for a minute. That to me would be a far more compelling watch, that, you know, from a fan's perspective. Are you directing it? Are you working with a director?
My buddy Max is gonna direct it.
That's
I
right.
wish I could have come in with a name that would have been a little bit more flashy.
He could come, give him
My
some
buddy
fake
Max.
name like Max de Bawanya.
Yeah, it's me and Max on Sydow. It's gonna be great.
Oh, cool.
No, but Max Shanker's a really funny comedian that helps me with Best Night Ever. So he's a really talented video guy, and so we're gonna see what we can do, and we're gonna get it or we're not gonna get it. So
how many cameras do you know?
I think we're doing 3.
Huh.
3 or 4. Yeah.
The reason I'm going down, because back to Paul Prevens again, because Paul is now a director, and he's always been a bit of a director, but as well as a stand-up comedian. But
at the beginning of Northern Exposure, he directed the hell out of that moose. That was amazing. Woo!
When is the movie going to come out?
What's up,
What is it called? The movie about Andy, what he's making.
Oh, that's still on the shelf.
Get it off the shelf, Paul.
There might be a screening on that soon. But the thing that Paul brought up to me was, in specials, his pet peeve is the cutaway to the audience laughter, the audience reaction shot. He's like that's that's in his view. And he kind of made the case to me where now it bothers me to see it. So the idea that you need the audience laughter to kind of to cue you that it's okay to laugh at that spot, or it's a weird thing. But now that he mentioned that, and I watch comedy specials, I see the prevalence of it all the time, and it does start to get to you a little bit. So when he filmed Andrus' last shot, there isn't one of those. It's a uniquely shot type of thing, and to me, because it's shot in a way that feels so much different than other specials, it's more of an enjoyable watch. Again, yeah, I think you gotta try to do, again, special is an overused word. I think there's too many of them for any of them to be called special, so make it special, right? Yeah. So any of that's thought about the direction that pre-planning for this stuff, or you're just concentrating on your hour and doing the comedy right, and whatever you get on that, then editing in the post is going to make it a show.
Yeah, I mean, as far as shooting the audience or not shooting the audience, I really don't know. I made a very smart decision in booking a room that only has about 35 seats. Yeah. So I think it's going to be tough to not get some sort of audience feel to it, which I think is the way to go, as opposed to just, hey, this is the part where you're supposed to laugh. We should probably show some lady in the crowd, because that always just feels so weird. And especially the thing that I really don't like is when a certain comedian who I'm not even going to say his name because we all know who I'm going to be talking about in a second. When he says something that's not particularly funny, but really makes you think, man, and they show a shot of the crowd and it's people thinking, that's
no.
that is the absolute worst.
Oh,
No.
no.
He's
Horrible.
talking about certain members of certain communities, and they're just like, "Oh yeah, oh, it's a great point. That's a great point, boss." It's just like the weirdest thing.
Well,
But I'll tell you my favorite audience shot in a special. My buddy's a strong word, but Chris Fairbanks, who's a hilarious comic. I think he's so funny and so unique. He has a special called Rescue Cactus, where he the way they shot the audience shots, he's in the crowd for all of them. So they shot the audience shots after the special. So the director was on stage like, hey, everyone laugh. And then Fairbanks is like in the background of all the audience shots, usually laughing at his own material.
I like that. I like that. That's that, you know, I don't know. I was going to say I would. Sounds like something I would do, but then that's like me taking credit for his cleverness, and I'm.
Yeah.
But it is something I would. Now that I've heard about it, I definitely could see myself doing that, just to bust balls.
Yeah, it's hilarious, and it's one of those things. They're like, I remember I know it's a great idea because I remember hearing about it and going, God damn it, I wish I could do that now.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
You said something and I want to come back to in a minute about making you think. So don't let me forget it. Make you think. Put that on
Okay.
But with the 35 people, is that people that are they already pre-chosen? Like have you pre-selected the audience, or is it just 35 tickets?
No, of course not. I hate that. So that's just so awkward. No, like you can still get tickets. They're $10. Have at it. I'm sure it'll be. There's still a lot available, but it's in a couple weeks, so I think we'll be fine.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, I don't like man, doing comedy for an audience of
familiar people,
your friends.
Yeah.
Oof, that is.
I know. Well, that's what and even in music, I wouldn't. I wouldn't want to stuff a room full of people I know are supportive fans. It's kind of like you could tell the phoniness in the reactions, and they're going to overdo it for the cameras. Cameras change everything.
Yeah, and that also would throw me off so much because I'm like, what? And 35 isn't enough. Like that's barely a crowd.
Right.
And if it's 30, like that might as well just be at my house. You know what I mean? Like, that's not. It's so weird if it's all people I'm cool with. Yeah.
Yeah. Making you think. State of comedy. And this is an idea I've expressed and gotten some really people who I guess I make angry by saying this. I love George Carlin. I think his influence on the state of comedy today has been a negative thing because he was so great at what he did in taking comedy to the college professor lecture level where but he was able to keep it funny most of the time, right up through all his work. But there are too many people that want to emulate that now and just be influencers of people's minds rather than concentrate on the funny. Do you agree with that? Disagree with it? Do you see it as a prevalent thing or not?
I really think it depends. I think the majority of comedians who are doing this thing where they're kind of proselytizing and making these grand statements, I don't think that they are comics who are working with the same. They're not working in the same paradigm that 99% of comics are. They're mostly famous people. And I think that a lot of these guys have been famous for a decent amount of time where they kind of have, in my opinion, have lost touch with what they should be doing and think that they're on some other plane. And whether that's deserved or not, that's obviously not for me to say. What is for me to say is whether or not I enjoy it. I don't. I'm like just bored to tears by
sociological statements and
Yeah.
you know, yeah.
And there's definitely room for that. I don't think it should be called. I don't personally think it's, you know,
You got to be able to keep the funny in it. I think as
for
long
sure,
as
yeah,
And some people do it well. Like Billy Wayne Davis, like talks about a lot of stuff, and some of them are political, and he's funny.
yeah,
If
for
it-
sure.
Yeah.
No, there's hilarious people who talk about politics. Like there's always room.
yeah, and it's not so much even politics. I mean, sociological things
Yeah,
or just,
yeah.
you know, all of it. It's just like all of it is good as long as you remember that you're a comedian first and not a college professor. I think
Oh, yeah.
again that the point I guess I made clumsily is I think a lot of guys as their careers you know get further along the line and they get older, they start to take themselves a little too seriously and forget that they're fucking comedians.
And I'm a huge Carlin guy too, but I will definitely say that there's a point there where George fell off the map. Like he's probably one of the greatest comedians of all time. But there's some specials there towards the end where he's just really sad and angry about death and stuff, and it's jarring, honestly. But that late 80s, early 90s comeback is some of the best stuff ever. And then, you know, 7 Words and that kind of stuff. Class Clown's like one of my favorite records of all time.
Class Clown that gets forgotten a lot when people mention Colin. I was one of the ones that I love too. King guys, Johnny, you're on the corner. Get off the corner.
Yeah.
Nobody gets that reference when I say that to people too. It's like, wait, I'm doing George Carlin here. Like, come on, how could you not know this? So that's one thing that in the state of comedy that really irked me. And now because I have lots of friends who teach comedy classes and all this stuff, I see a lot of guys who are just getting into first year, second year comedians who now are taking on that mantle and think. Like I always think when you're starting off, especially, you got to be really quick to the joke. It's got to be shorter content. It's got to be more impactful, quick. You can't look up at your heroes and say, "I'm going to do George Carlin-esque material." And I hate to pick on Carlin in any way, but using him as an influence, you can't do that as an open micer. But I'm seeing lots of open micers now who think they can, and it's a career killer. It's a kind of it's a non-starter. It's like you can't even get started and you're get any success behind you if you want to go for the home runs right away. You got to start with knock jokes.
Yeah,
I love Pryor. No, I love Carlin, but I like Pryor better. Richard
Okay.
Pryor.
Pryor. I mean, you know what? They're the greatest. You know, they revolutionized.
Those are apples and oranges, though. I mean,
No, I like both. Yeah.
Pryor's amazing. Peoria is where he was born, and they have like a statue to him. And,
that's where Brett Erickson was from too.
yeah, that's funny. For sure.
You know Brett?
I met him a couple times. Yeah, very. But newer. So that's one of the reasons why I think I kind of agree with you that these famous gentlemen putting out their famous specials that are just so detached from real life it really doesn't help. If you know, it really doesn't help. And I think a lot of new comics doing that is definitely a bummer. But that's always been the case. If the new open micers trying to be edgy is something that's been happening forever. And in my experience, a lot of them fall by the wayside very quickly, which is why that's one of the best parts about comedy, in my opinion, is that it really does kind of shave away the excess fat, and you have to either adapt and get better and change, or you're gonna just fall by the wayside, which is A-okay with me, baby.
Yeah, no, I get it, because there are, there's a whole lot I have to say here about this stuff, but I feel like comedy can be unfairly stifling for young people, because I compare music to comedy in a lot of ways. When we go back to punk rock, the idea of punk rock was you didn't have, you wanted to be something different, individual, strong, out there, make a statement, and be like, really be your own person. And I feel like comedy, because of the way it's structured, that you get 3 minutes, you got to really do fast material, it kind of forces people into this box of going through stages of development that music doesn't. Sometimes you could just come out of the box and be a Ramones or Sex Pistols and make a splash in the world. It's really difficult in comedy to do that. Do you hear what I'm saying in that and agree in any way or not?
I think that was the case. I think that was definitely the case 10 years ago. Now with TikTok and stuff like that, there's ways for people to kind of circumvent the system, for better or for worse, definitely for worse. But yeah.
Are you on TikTok?
Of course I am. You have to be on TikTok. It's
Yeah.
it is.
Let me put I only have your Facebook link. I'll get your TikTok link and I'll put it in the description. But
it's all right there. It's all at the Mike O'Keefe.
Oh, okay.
That's all of them. Yeah, TikTok's this weird thing that just like really helps people kind of circumvent everything. And now there's there are people who have a huge following on TikTok who are headlining clubs throughout the country now. It's a very odd situation. I should tell you, if you're out there and you're listening, I'm not going to add you on Facebook. I'm sorry, man. Go to the thing right there at the Monkey on all this stuff. And I should tell you, I'm a teacher of children in schools, so I have to accept you on Instagram and shit. Right. But yeah, I'll accept anybody.
So wait a minute, teachers of kids, what grades, what ages?
High school history.
Oh. High school history, world history, American history.
This past year I had a world and a U.S. And then this upcoming year I'm gonna have a world history and a U.S. civics course, I believe.
Civics.
Wow,
I didn't even think they taught that anymore, and I think that's where I was going to go, because when I was in school, they did away with. Now we're talking, the 1800s, but they did away with teaching civics as an individual course, and they combined American history with a little bit of civics knowledge and stuff like that. The state, now we're getting away from comedy here, but I'm just curious here, because you're a history teacher and this is good stuff. You feel like there's kids are getting it, what the whole civics thing is about, and understanding how our system works and how everything is supposed to work?
I don't know. This will be my first year teaching civics.
Okay.
I'm very interested to see what their understanding of how the American governmental system works and how it should work. I think that's going to be the big.
Is it a mandatory course or is it an elective?
It's a mandatory thing. There's state of Illinois standards.
I'd be surprised to see what the engagement. How many of them really want to be there? How many of them really want to learn what the stuff is about, and how many are just there because it's mandatory? I have to sit through this stuff.
I think in the city of Chicago, just with everything that's gone on in the past couple of years, I really think that it's going to be a very, very active class. And I really think that they're going to be focused on how they can make a difference, because I think this generation, in my experience at least, wants to be super politically active, because in the last 6 years, politics really went from being a spectator sport to being something that really impacts their lives way more than people of my age.
Interesting. You should put it like that, because
Yeah,
I think politics has become more of a cheerleading for sport. People I know, and I'm not teenagers and high school people.
Yeah.
People I know who were never involved in politics or never really cared about it at all of a sudden became cheerleaders for one side or the other, like their teams. And I tried to explain to them, this is not entertainment. There are real things at stake here. Do you care about
No,
the
I
issues
think
at
it's
all?
just-
What?
I mean, like Black Lives Matter, like things like that, where the kids really came out, you know, and
Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah, but for a lot of
Really
people my age, things like that are just catchphrases. They don't even understand what it means, or some of them. Let's
Not with
face it.
Black Lives Matter, though. That's a serious thing.
I know that. I know. I'm not saying that it's not a serious thing. I'm saying the attitude of people my age, or not even 40 and older, I would think. A lot of them, they hear that and they don't really do a deep dive into what it's all about. They just know that I'm either red or blue. I'm cheering for red or blue. All the issues, whether it's gun control, abortion, they don't care about doing a deep dive or really analyzing what they think about any of the issues. All they care about is, I'm for the Jets, you're for the Giants. I'm just
And I think the biggest issue like that is definitely abortion, where when they repealed Roe versus Wade, I think a lot of people on the right were just immediately excited because this was a talking point for years and years and years. And then the thing happened and they had no idea the actual effect of the thing. And now we're seeing absolute real life horror stories throughout the country. And I don't think that they knew that that was going to happen. Whereas everyone on the other side, not everyone on the other side, but I think a lot of people were like kind of warning everyone about this, and then it happened. And it's been a very interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd say it's been a very interesting 8 years, even that little rise of Trump in like 2014, 2015. Where things started to get like, I remember like it going from being this weird joke that The Apprentice got.
Jon Stewart was talking about it and they got burned out on it.
Yeah. And then, I mean, as New Yorkers, you guys probably had
funny thing is, I think Trump thought
crazy.
it was a joke too when he started. I really do think that he
agree. I 100% agree with that. I think he was trying to hold out for a bigger NBC contract.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Fuck, I gotta be the goddamn president now.
And then once that happened, he became power hungry and drunk with it and didn't want to give it up. But I just want to say this, I have friends, lifelong friends who are Trumpers, and I have not lost them as friends. Some of them I have, but I have friends who they consider themselves Republicans without understanding what Republicans are really for. In other words, they are completely in the Trump camp, but they are pro-choice. They are pro-gay marriage. They are pro-legalization of marijuana, or all these kind of things. The only thing they agree with them on is some of the racist stuff and some of the, that stuff. But for the most part, on all the issues, they're pretty much against everything that they're voting for and supporting, which is kind of bizarre when you think it. Like, do you care about the issues at all? But
I think they like the loudest guy.
Yeah.
The loudest guy. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. The guy. So you said went from like being a spectator sport. I think you're right. It went from being a spectator sport to WWE, which is a fake spectator sport, a Hollywood production of a spectator sport. Yeah. So with your interest in the history and being a comedian, how do you resist the temptation to talk completely about politics in the world within your comedy?
That's a great question. I view that the same way I kind of view the classroom. I talk about the things that I talk about, which are a lot of relationships, not just with my partner, but with my dad, my mom, and kind of my relationship with my students. The way I attack that, I think you can surmise the way I feel about certain issues from how I attack those, which I try and do by just making fun of myself and with empathy for the other people I'm talking about. And if you take all of those things into account, you can probably guess where I'm at. And I think teaching works the same way, where if I just walked in on the first day and was like, hey, I'm Mr. O'Keefe, I'm your civics professor, and these are my opinions, these are what I feel. I think I would be leading my audience in a way that's really unfair to them and really insults their intelligence. So I try and point the way that I want them to go, as opposed to just telling them.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the way I like to attack it.
Well, I'm very envious of you on now that I know this stuff about you. First of all, there's part of me that is envies everybody who's in stand-up comedy right now. But the civic stuff, I would love to.
Mind dog, I gotta stop you right there. Mind dog, it's the easiest thing to start doing. You go to a bar and you write your name on a list. That's all it is, baby.
Here's where it failed for me. And we're talking going back 35 years ago. I was a working musician. I was getting paid $200 a gig. Yeah. What I would have to do is take off a night from a gig. I was getting paid $200. Bring 5 people to a place for 5 minutes of time. Now, I'm used to being on stage for 4 hours and getting that glory for 4 hours and feeling that dopamine rush for 4 hours. Get 5 minutes, bring 5 people, have to pay for all their dinners and drinks, and get nothing at the end of the night. It'd be like, and I did it like 5 or 6 times till I figured out this is a losing proposition for me. It's going to take me 30 years to get known or get established.
Yeah, those bringer things are rough, man. Luckily, when I started in Michigan, that was not a thing that you had to do. But yeah, bringers are. But my heart goes out to all that and young comics at NYC who bark. Man, good God love you. That's some tough shit, man, for sure.
Yeah, but the other part I'm envious of is the ability to have these conversations with young people and see where the future is going to be, because that's something I'm really interested in. But you brought up this thing that I wanted to talk to you about, which for the life of me, I've been thinking about it for 30 years or more, is how unfair. I understand the vetting process of the world has to put comedians through to give them that opportunity to say, you're official now. We all recognize that you deserve to get paid. But it's so unfair at the starting level that just gas money. I mean, come on, the whole inequity of the idea. And Spotify is, I'm going to get on that eventually too, is the idea that comedians don't deserve to get paid. Even if you suck, you're putting 5 minutes, you're coming there, doing a service for the club, you're eating up some of their entertainment time. You should deserve something, no? Well, how do we justify completely raping comedians?
Yeah,
without a drop of lube, by the way, not even.
No Vaseline.
It is. Yeah, it's. I could talk about this forever. The worst part is that even when you do get past those barriers to entry, the money for feature acts has not changed in 30 years. And I don't know why. I definitely know why. Comics are always going to take it. Comics are just any shred of anything. We're always there to eat up the scraps. I think we're definitely the worker bees of the entertainment industry, and it's rough. And there's been all these moves to unionize. which are great ideas, but it's really tough to do. With that said, the Chicago Laugh Factory just upped their money for comics, which is great. Shout out to Curtis and the boys down there. But yeah, the money has just been so rough. And now, especially in the Midwest where you're driving a lot, the gas situation is so rough, especially if you live in Chicago. It's been a really bad summer for my bottom line.
Yeah, definitely. I could see that. And it really breaks my heart that, I understand a feature act. When I see feature acts, especially when I see guys who are going around touring with, or, being a feature for a major headline, I was like, how do you afford to do that? Because I know you're getting raped on the money here. I know the headliner is getting the big money, but to be on the road and to be away from home, you still have your apartment or house to pay for at the same time while you're out on the road. You have expenses, even though your hotel's paid for, whatever. Yeah. It just seems like, man, it's a really rough life, and how we don't value the service that comedians bring into our lives enough to really respect the profession of it, to make it pay enough. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah, I'm lucky enough that I'm probably 7 times out of 10 I'm headlining these days. But yeah, featuring on the road is such a rough thing, and that's why you see comics selling the amount of merch that they sell, which is another expense and another hassle, and it's really rough. And anyone making a go of it out there, like I was for years and years and years, my heart goes out to you, man. It's really rough. It kind of got me off the road a little bit, and I got my master's this past year and got into teaching. But it's I'm lucky enough now that I have a gig during the day, and I can really focus on going to the places that I want to go to, where I know it's going to be lucrative and it's going to help me grow a fan base. But yeah, back in the day where I was just going anywhere, it is tough sledding for sure.
Yeah. We have to say goodbye to Governor's Comedy.